Boo. Okay, it is 9 a.m. We are going to start our meeting. I want to welcome everybody that is here and on the line. Welcome to the Volusia County, Florida Volusia Echo Advisory Committee meeting of April 11th, and we will start. We will start with a roll call, but I will ask before we do the roll call, we do have a member that under exceptional circumstances will be joining us via Zoom, or no, Teams, and he is on the call as I understand it. I do need someone to make a motion to allow him to be a voting member of the board for today. I didn't say anything, did I? Patterson, yeah. Thank you.
I'll second.
Second, okay. All those in favor of allowing Mr. Patterson to join us via Teams, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, all right. With that, we will do a roll call for the remainder of the board.
Pat Northey,
Here.
Jay Pendergast,
Here.
Jeffrey Alt,
Here.
Patricia Drago,
Here.
John Macaluso,
Here.
Stephanie Mason Teague,
Here.
Pat Patterson. Can he hear?
Yeah, I see him.
Be muted.
Oh, okay. Reggie Santilli,
Here.
Dwight Selby.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Pat, can you hear us? Wave if you can. Say hello. You know,
No, he's not. No.
he's a dear friend, but he is challenged when it comes to this kind of stuff. He can't hear us, I don't think, because he would laugh at that. Okay, I'm going to let somebody figure that out, and we will move through public participation, and we'll start with City Manager Carmen Rosamunda from DeBerry. And you have, we give 3 minutes for public participation. Good morning.
Thank you, Chairman, Council. How you doing? Committee. I just wanted to come, I know you were talking about your reviewing your guidelines regarding the ECHO Committee, and I wanted to make some business recommendations for the improvement, the possible improvement of this particular process. I think in order to get more participation, better customer satisfaction, and a better return on our investment for the ECHO project, I think, in my opinion, we need to, I think if we go to a more business-oriented process and consider some of the external environments, that I think that we can significantly improve the ECHO process. One of the things that we talked about is the possibility of looking at, in an ECHO environment, looking at the economy. Some of the reasons that we're not getting a lot of applications is the economy. Our cities are burdened with flooding issues from Hurricane Ian still, compounded inflation. Our construction costs are going up 25% a year. And the Florida legislature is really bearing down on us to reduce our revenues and increase our costs. And all of this kind of puts cities at a position to have to prioritize our projects. And fortunately, ECHO projects get pushed to the back when these other higher priorities are necessary. And so when you look at the economy, asking for that the ECHO committee take a consideration of maybe the 50% match might be too high during this economy, meeting every 2 years, analyze the economy, determine what's the best match. In my opinion, Ormond Beach having to raise their taxes and dedicate money to meet the match really is, from their perspective, is a good business strategy. From the ECHO perspective, do they really have to raise taxes to meet the match for ECHO? And you have to question those things. Second, we got to take a look at, I believe, is the project type. Requiring engineering plans and shovel-ready projects is great for structures, playgrounds, lights, and everything else. But for environmental projects where the permitting and the engineering takes so long that going to a design build process helps us build these projects better, cheaper, and faster. You have to remember construction costs are about 25% on an annual basis. Every year that we delay, we either pay 25% more or we get 25% less amenities every time we make that delay. And lastly, to consider, ECHO can take advantage of some industry trends. As an example that I put in here in writing is our halogen lights for our ball fields. They're being phased out by industry. And in a couple of years, you will not have any halogen light bulbs anymore. And the costs are going to exponentially grow of trying to convert these fields to LED. And so it's a great opportunity to take a look at these industry trends and say, let's take a look at these industry trends, maybe lower the match, incentivize these things to come forward. Let's save some money going forward, even not with the construction costs, but the industry trends that are occurring that are going to make this project even cost more. And we can take advantage of some of these industry trends and convert all our ball fields on a timely manner and save a whole lot of money. It's all about customer satisfaction, return on investment, and getting the results that we need. So,
And you did really well on time.
thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. I would also advise you, Carmen, we're just an advisory board committee. When this goes to council, whatever we decide today, I would make sure they had a copy of this.
I will also forward this to the Volusia County Council and staff, and I think staff will get this as well.
Okay.
It's just my recommendations, and hopefully looking for to make it ECHO
We always
process
love
the
to hear
best in the
from
state.
users.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, then we will hear also Jack Surratt. You're up. Jack is a former member of the ECHO committee. We miss him.
There we go. All right. Well, yes, I'm Jack Surratt, and I was a proud member of this committee for 5 years, and I'm currently a member of Environmental and Natural Resources Advisory Committee. And I come here for 2 reasons today. One, to say hello to my friends and colleagues and maybe meet a few folks that are newer to ECHO. But second, to climb back up on my soapbox concerning marketing of ECHO, and I recognize that's a current topic of this group. First, let me say thanks to Mr. Selby for posing some questions that I might pose, and I found that most interesting. But specifically, the marketing of ECHO has always been a subject of mine, and let me just say that the reason for it is that ECHO it's a beautiful program, and my passion really lies with the fantastic quality of life that it provides for all the communities in the county, and there's no other project really like that. When you think about it. So I think it's important, and the key is accessibility. Everyone gets to enjoy these projects, and the problem is they may not know of these projects, and that's the deal. Awareness is simply too low of all these things that are happening in the county, and the citizens and the visitors are made aware of them, but there's so much more there, and they really don't know. So how are they made available? By marketing. And to lay the marketing at the feet of the projects themselves is really not doing justice to ECHO in total. And I think, I was very happy to hear that Brad, the consultants, are looking at this sort of thing, but it really comes down to the element of enhancing the quality of life. That's the key. And true, this is somewhat of a brick and mortar type of program. We build things. That's right. But that ignores the premise of enhancing life and enhancing quality of life, which is oftentimes not known. So, I'm here because I think promoting awareness facilitates accessibility, and that's how the community is enhanced. So I recommend 2 things. One, that we continue to put effort at the level of the projects themselves and the marketing plans that they put together, but I think the county should do a lot more. And I think that the extent of that is up to you, and I've made suggestions of it in the past. But secondly, I recommend that there's an engagement with the
I'm going to give him an extra minute because he's a former member.
only need a minute. That we enhance and engage with these advertising authorities within the county. And the reason we should do that is because they should, in fact, advertise and go out there, not only for the county, but outside of the county to build this awareness. So I think there should be an engagement with all these authorities. I went to the Halifax Advertising Authority meeting just in January with this in mind, and perhaps I engage in that myself and perhaps become a member there. But it's to me, those two things are really what we need to do to encourage more understanding, accessibility to these great projects. So let's make this beautiful program better. And I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today. And Mr. Selby, please keep asking the hard questions.
Thank you, Jack. It's always good to hear from you. Okay, that concludes our public participation. We will move to approval of the February 16th, 2024 minutes. Has everybody had a chance to read those? And, okay, any corrections? Otherwise, we will file them as written. Okay. Okay.
There's one typo on page 3, halfway down. Pat Drago said he.
Oh, I caught that one too. Yes. Yeah.
Just
yeah.
misidentified Pat.
Yeah, that needs to be changed. Patrick, yeah. 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 So can we file them with that change? Thank you, Jill. Okay. Okay. And then we will move to old business, and we will turn to staff for direct county expenditure update. Who's going to handle that one? Which one of you guys?
I'll take that introduction. So Nick Dunham, Resource Stewardship Director. So old business today, we have the direct county expenditure plan. This plan was brought before the committee at the last meeting, but we have made some updates, and we have a summary presentation for those as well. And we recognize that some of the members were not here in the beginning of the direct county expenditure plan. So we're going to kind of go over the history of the direct county expenditure in the presentation as well. So I'm going to turn that presentation over to Daniel Marsh.
Got the PowerPoint.
Good morning.
Good morning. Daniel Marsh, Echo Manager. All right, so the direct county expenditure plan was presented to you guys back in February, so we're bringing it to you here today with some updates. The DCE plan is for county projects, and this is a county ballot initiative and program. There's two pathways. We got grants and aids, and then we have the DCE. This resolution was authorized the referendum to be placed on the ballot, and it aligns with ballot language. The improvements are not maintenance or replacements because they increase the utility of the asset and will expand user groups and improve public access. So ECHO has a long history of funding the improvements that expand utility and public access. So right now we're in the DCE process. So County Council by resolution has asked that you guys look at these projects specifically, and they are vetted against the ballot language, and the definitions are in the guidebook. We do match funding is requested, and then County Council will review the plan for approval after you guys make your recommendations today. Just wanted to touch on the match so far for the program. In 23, we have about $3.1 million of match, and in 24, we have about $2.6 million of match. As far as compliance goes, this is not a requirement of the program, but it is good practice, and we do all the DCEs so far have turned in quarterly reports. There are annual reports that they turn in as well. They still follow the 2 to 3 year guidelines depending on what the grant is. And then staff will go out and close out the project and monitor once the permanent sign is up. And all of these projects are subject to audit, and they also are available on the ECHO dashboard. So some benefits of the program include a strategic investment. We're stabilizing the reserve growth. We're improving the quality of life of our citizens. Again, it aligns with the ballot language, and we're expanding public use and access. So just want to give you a history so far from 2020 to now. Here are some of the things that have been acquired. Plantation Oaks, and then the statue at Mary McLeod Bethune. And then reminder that in March 7th of 23, that's when the plan was approved. 43 projects at 32 sites across the county for roughly about $5.6 million. So here are some of the 23 projects that were approved in the last plan, and we just wanted to give you an update as to where they are in the design and construction. And we do have some projects that are complete. The Spruce Creek Park restrooms, Chuck Lennon tennis court resurfacing, hit down surface, as well as the Bicentennial Park pickleball courts are complete.
I'm going to stop you right there. Before we go on to new requests, I want to ask the council if they have any, the committee, if they have any questions on the past project list that we just reviewed. Is there any questions on any of those projects? Okay, Reggie?
Oh, thanks. Why was the Cardinal Drive beach access ramp?
Cardinal was crossed off the plan because they have acquired FEMA funds for that project.
That's right.
Okay, you're back on.
Okay, so that takes us to the updated plan that we're presenting to you today, asking for an additional $6.4 million. So the original plan was 15.4 over the 5 years, and the projects were forecasted in each of the division's capital improvement budget, and if adopted, the ECHO investment will represent some general fund savings. So this plan is a investment plan informed by the needs and identified by our communities and requested by staff. And this plan was unanimously approved by you guys as the committee back in February. So 17 new projects at 17 sites, 3 adjustments to the timeline, and then we removed 5 projects. And this will give us an estimated operational impact of roughly about $100,000. So here are the 17 projects listed out here and on a map for you to visually see where they're at in the county.
Anybody have any specific questions, or are you going to go through them by district? Is that?
Yeah, I'm going to
Okay.
keep going. All right, so the next slide gives us the request by category. The biggest piece of the pie is the outdoor recreation, about $14 million, and then the environmental is about 7.4, and the cultural and historic are there listed as well. So in the previous plan, we did it by division, but now we're doing it by district. So here is the funding request by district, and the BE and CW stands for the Beach Enhancement and Countywide category, which I'll touch on later in the presentation.
Pat, Mr. Drago?
Yes, ma'am.
Just for clarification, okay, I'm looking at the list of the 17 projects, and I'm curious which ones of these 17 qualify for the historic? You said you
There
had-
is 2 projects that are historic, and they are DeBerry Hall Mansion Restoration and the DeBerry Hall exhibits.
So now I'm looking at the list of the 17, Deland, I don't see DeBerry. That must be on another list.
So that would have been, those projects were funded, I believe, for the 24 in the old plan.
It was a prior list. That's not included in the 17 that that we're talking about today. I just want to make sure I'm understanding where we're going here.
Yeah, that's correct.
So when I look at the 17 that are before us, how did you sort those out?
So the 17 projects that you're looking at today are going to be updated from the previous plan that weren't approved in March of 23.
Okay, so, and will they be they look like they're mostly outdoor recreation. Am I reading that correctly?
That is correct. I'll go through the breakdown. I think we have 13 outdoor recreation, 1 cultural, and 2 environmental.
Okay, and the cultural would be the Ocean Center improvements?
Correct.
Thank you. I just want to make sure, I'm making sure I understand this. Thank
You're
you.
fine. Anybody else before we move forward?
Yeah, similar
Shelby?
kind of question. So this is, the county council added 17 projects? Is that what I'm understanding at $6.5 million?
We are recommending as staff to add these 17 projects with talks with division directors.
Okay. And can you just sort of give us an overview of how much cash does Echo have right now?
Roughly at the beginning of this year, it was about $15.6 million in reserves.
Okay. And we recommended and the council approved for match, was it 6 million? What did they total the projects that we?
The total projects and this funding that we're asking for the 7 is about $6.4 million. And the match that we're bringing to the table is roughly $2.6 million.
Okay. And so this additional 6 million, is that, will that come out of the 15 million, or is 15 million left after after these 17 projects?
So Dwight, if I may, it will, it stabilizes reserve growth. So about each year, what we've been doing about the same amount. So the ad valorem generates 10 million a year. We take the 1.5 million off for trails. We take some commissions that we pay to the property appraiser and the tax collector, about $500,000 to $600,000, as well as the operating expenses is about 3% to operate the entire program. It's self-contained, self-funded. And so that leaves us about 7 million spendable. We budget 4.5 million each year for grants, and typically do not get that. Now there's some years where it goes up and down, but really, if there is money that needs to come out of reserve to fund both projects, there will certainly be money available.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So when we have applicants, whether they be local governments, nonprofits, et cetera, we want a 50-50 match. But when the county is the applicant, we don't have a ratio that we require because that match is much lower. I just want to make sure what the standards are.
So it's a different program as far as DCE versus the ECHO program. So we do ask for match, but there's not a requirement of match 50-50.
Okay, so but it's still ECHO funds.
Correct.
That goes back to the first.
I'm making
Yeah,
sure I
yeah,
understand
that-
that the rules are different
The
for the
rules
match.
for
The rules are different for a DCE match from what we require from any other applicant.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
May I ask a follow-up to that? Where does the county get the match?
So there are different funding sources that we have match documentation for. So grants, and then we have some ARPA funds as well as park impact fees, Port Authority Fund, and Beach Capital Fund as well.
Okay. Okay, good. Thank you.
If I may.
Yes.
Yeah. I just want to point out again that, in the ballot resolution, it clearly indicates that ECHO funds can be spent either through direct expenditure from the county and a grant program. It doesn't even need to do a grant program if the county council chooses not to. But I also want to point out that the county staff did this match money might seem low, but if you look at the match money that Mr. Bailey and the county staff brought in for the trails over the years, it far exceeds
Yeah,
what we put in. It far exceeds that. So it balances out.
Okay. You're back to you, Daniel.
That's me. All right, so this would be the funding request by fiscal year. As you could see, there was the original 5.6 and 23, and here's the out years as well. Now, the year 6, FY28, would be the continual rolling plan to get to the 6 years, not the 5 years. All right, so that'll take us into the new requests by districts. So in District 1, $1 million for 2 different play yards for the library systems at DeLand and Pearson. We added in $500,000 for Colby Alderman Park and $30,000 for Lake George.
I'm really excited about the kayak launch. That's really good. Can I ask a question about the play yards? Are we using we have a standard developer, is that correct, that does those, that makes them accessible or handicapped accessible, all the play yards that we're doing, correct?
Yes.
Didn't we make that as a
They are
requirement?
ADA accessible. So Lucinda has worked with Chris, who gave the presentation on ADA, to develop those playgrounds.
Okay.
They're a big hit because
They're great.
they have surveillance and they're fenced so people can let their kids run and feel safe in that environment.
We're also, if I remember correctly, those that come in for a regular grant from different organizations, we are requiring them to also use that format, correct?
ADA, yes.
Okay.
They have to address ADA. There's different levels, but it needs to be addressed in their plan. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And then the adjustment for District 1 would be moving the improvements to the Volusia County Fairgrounds and the Phase 2 project to that beach enhancement and county-wide category. And for the Phase 2 project, the ask is $1 million in FY25. And the reason we're asking for that an additional is we did not receive the $1 million in an FDOTS grant this year. So that's why and you'll see that in a later slide. For District 2, $200,000 for Ocean Center enhancements, and then we moved Doris Leaper into District 2. This was the one that straddled 2 and 3, but we only had money in District 3, so we put both funds, 1.2 in each district in 2 and 3, and then there's a $50,000 increase to the Sugar Mill Gardens restrooms.
Okay, any questions on that so far? I have a question on the Ocean Center entertainment enhancements. Is that like new equipment to bring them up to speed on how they sound?
Pat?
Sound equipment? Is it
Yeah.
sound
If I may, so we have the new Ocean Center director here, Lynn Flanders. I'd like to introduce her to the committee and give her an opportunity to speak about the enhancements
let's
and
do
her
that
vision.
now.
So.
Okay. Welcome. Nice to meet you.
I am so excited to be part of this community, and I wanted to tell you that coming from Atlanta when I came here, and they were telling me about the Echo Funds, I was like, what? Tell me about that. I'd never heard of anything like that. And I think this county is so forward thinking to have something like this and to know that it was supported on a ballot by a community. It just made me
Overwhelmingly.
so proud to be part of this community, and I have shouted that back to my friends in Atlanta more times than you could even imagine. So good job, and wonderful that you have this. It just speaks volumes for commitments. So we are part of whatever our initiative is. When I was hired, was to bring concerts back to the Ocean Center. It was very clear during my confirmation from the council that that's what they wanted. So we've been working on that. And I didn't even realize that we had an in-house Jeffrey expert. And I found that out last night. I read his bio and I'm like, wow. So I know enough to know that I don't know what I need to know. So instead of phoning your friends back in, if we're at my former life, Jeffrey, if you're okay, you're going to be my new phone a friend buddy whenever it comes to this. So what we are looking at.
He knows it all.
Yes, he does. I read everything. I was like, wow, so I look forward to him coming over and visiting. And even before we spend any of this, I would love for you to come over and make sure we're headed in the right direction. But this literally is for lighting enhancements. A lot of most of everything of what we have is back from the original when we did concerts back in the 80s. And I know last year in that amazing letter that Jeffrey wrote, the strategic plan and why we needed one, and when he mentioned Ocean Center, I was like, he was right on par with what, my first week of saying, and, how old are those lights? Because, they faded, the bulbs are dim. We need LEDs. We need some different types of lighting. We also need some different types of power distribution. The floor boxes in that arena are original to the building. So we have $1 million project that we're working on right now just to bring the floor boxes up to a current code and to provide them with the power that they need when we do have the shows there. So part of what we're asking for is just is out of that million, we're putting in $1 million is $100,000 to get what's coming out of those floor boxes portable, so that we can have portable distribution centers, so that we pull out of a box and then pull over. Lighting, I look so forward to working with Jeffrey on the spotlights. One of the things when we first came was, is our rigging adequate? Have we had anyone inspect our rigging? And so we reached out immediately to have our rigging plots surveyed. Equipment, as Jeffrey noted, is very different today than it was in 86. Are we meeting the requirements? Life safety is very important to me. So are we, and to everyone, but in our rigging plot sufficient? Or is the integrity still there? Has there any structural integrity that has happened over the past 30 years? So that's the direction. So what we're here today is to let you know that we are investing a lot of money into the arena. Probably we're looking at close to, and don't quote me on this because we're working on all the budget numbers right now, but up to $8,000 to $10,000. We're redoing floors, we're redoing the floor boxes. This would be, we're redoing lighting.
Sure, you meant millions.
Did I say thousand?
You said that.
I meant millions. Yeah. Oh yeah, we're real big spenders over there. We're doing $8,000. Yeah, we thought we'd lay it all on the line. I don't even know that we'd get a really good light system. But we last year we invested $1 million in new sound in there and lights, and I don't even know if anyone is aware of that. But so we're slowly but surely over the past year or two been upgrading. Great. And this is next year. Arena is our number one. Our number one priority is we're going to submit in our capital budget. So I appreciate your consideration. Does anyone have any questions?
Jeff?
I'll just make a comment just so everybody, when Volusia County built that arena, Volusia County had the first arena in Central Florida. Orlando has built 2 since then. Oh. So we were the first county in Central Florida to have an arena, and it needs upgrades.
It does.
So.
And Jeffrey's my new phone friend.
I have a question. Didn't we do an exceptional grant at one time for the Ocean Center, and it required them to have a cultural, we required as part of that, where there was a cultural piece that was supposed to be
that was the
Echo Gallery.
The gallery, Echo Gallery.
Correct.
Do we still do the Echo Gallery there?
We still do.
And there was a committee that was formed. Is that still active?
Yes, Tim Bailey in the audience actually runs that committee.
Okay.
With Kate Sark at the Ocean Center. So.
Okay.
Yep.
So we're we're changing the paintings around. Is that what we're doing? How often do we do that? I'm sorry. I probably should have asked you. You would know that.
I think we have the expert here.
Yep. Good morning, Tim Bailey, Parks, Recreation, and Culture Director. And yes, it's a 10-month rotation.
10 months. Okay.
Right. There is a committee established. We follow all the Echo guidelines, Echo Gallery guidelines, and it takes some time to get all that going and then to rotate it out every 10 months. But it is active and it's sticking to the 10-month time frame.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And will you be sure that the board, excuse me, the committee gets invited to receptions on that? I know I've seen some of them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, Madam
Dwight?
Chairman, so the 200,000, what exactly are you going to be spending that on?
I have a complete list.
Well,
Hold on just a second. I took a picture
You
for
can
a
hit the
ready
highlights.
reference. Okay, so we have, and Jeffrey, you listen to, you're going to see she just knows enough to know what she knows. But if you have any more technical experience to put in, please feel free. So we're-
Yesterday was the first time I heard about this, so
Okay.
I need to go back and actually wrote the plan that I had sent council over a year ago, so.
Well, and we welcome you to literally, before we spend any of this, we will certainly get with Jeffrey over this. But we are going to do, we need new spotlights for production. We need new park hand lights. And again, all of these are original to the 80s. So, light bulbs dim. So if you go in there, I have a friend who does broadcasts for ESPN, and we were doing a show for the basketball show in the challenge when I first got there in November, and he calls me on the phone and he says, "Hey, you got some new lights in there," which we did. He goes, "You can tell in your broadcast." I was like, "Yay!" So sportscasters are noticing it. I think that's a really good thing. And then we're going to do some new headsets, some new wireless headsets, some mobile microphones. We need LED light trees, portable PA sound systems. We need electrical distribution boxes. So once we redo that $1 million floor box, then that's where we take the power and distribute it out to the various needs. New spotlights, a new transformers, because we need to convert some 480s down to 208s and then sometimes down to like a 120. So as we do those step downs, the transformers we have are original to the building as well. And then we need new LED lighting in the upper bowl. We did the lighting for the main arena, but in the upper bowl, that lighting is still is original to the building. So we want to just brighten that up so that there's a complement to what's going on the floor. So that is the $200,000.
And just a follow up, and it might be for staff, but so DCE on investments like this, I mean, obviously a lot of that equipment, I mean, I recognize that if stuff is from 86, that's 40 years old.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the things that you listed there certainly aren't going to last 20 years, or they're certainly not going to be, they're not going to be up to standards, 20 years from now. Is that an exception for DCE expenditures?
No, sir. So it is we require all grant applicants to have a maintenance and replacement plan. So if they're, playgrounds are another one. If it's before the 20 years, if something happens to that playground equipment before the 20 years is up, they're committing to replace it, and which really can be, if you maintain it properly, typically you won't have to unless there's vandalism or something like that. But no, we expect people to honor their commitment for 20 years.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I actually served on the Echo Gallery Advisory Committee, so just wanted to say that what Jack was saying earlier about the Echo marketing, obviously maybe we do need to do a little bit more. I know that when those galleries open, the chef of the Ocean Center provides an incredible sampling of the food that they offer there, and it's a wonderful opening and exhibit that does run. The committee is made up of several artists, and so the quality of the gallery exhibit is wonderful. But again, if people don't know about it, they won't attend. And so that kind of brings two of those things together right there in the heart of Daytona Beach.
So I'll let you know two things that we have planned. Number one, we do have in our budget the Echo openings and some smaller gatherings, and we plan to do that. Part of my 5-year strategic plan, if you will, is that we tell our story better. And Echo is part of that story. And not only do we tell our story, but as a community asset, we tell the story of the community asset of the Ocean Center. And I want to do this before I've been there for very long, because I'm not Moses here parting the sea. This has been an amazing organization long before I came, and I just need to get their story out for them. So one of the things that we're going to do is October 6th, mark your calendar, we're having a Celebrate Volusia Day, and it's all of the things that when I first came here and people are introduced me, I'm like, wow, you do that? Like you have an environmental center? Wow, you have, your Halifax Animal Society has a 94% no-kill rate that's leading in the nation. We have Echo, we have this art, we have this. So we're having an open house. It's invited all of the Volusia County residents. We've already working with local television stations to get some promotion and whatnot free, and we'll work with the News Journal to get everything out. And we have some local talent that's going to be performing. We're going to have the Echo open. We're asking Echo, you don't know it yet, but we're asking anybody you want to come and do a big presentation there. So we are just now formulating what that's going to look like, but all of you will be invited, and B, all of you will hopefully have some suggestions for us. But we want to just show off this amazing, amazing county that we have. I say you have, but I'm part of it now, so that we have. So it's exciting.
Great. Are you happy, Jack? Okay. Okay, good.
Oh,
start.
we will work with you directly. We are. I'm all about community and just knowing that convention centers. And I come from performing arts, our top 30 in Polestar in the world for performing arts. And I know we had to tell our story. We had to in Atlanta, and we have to here. So it's just letting people know what we do at the Ocean Center, and that we are there for the community. That is why we. That is why we exist.
Your enthusiasm is wonderful. I've gone through everybody, and you are the most enthusiastic director that we've had.
Oh, well,
Thank you.
Thank you. And anybody, just give me a call and a shout anytime. And Jeffrey, you're my new BFF.
And I do want to go to Mr. Patterson. Do you have any questions? Okay. Why can we not hear him? He can hear us, but we can't hear him.
It's something on his end. He might have the button muted.
So
he
he can't like push a button to get to talk. Okay. I am so sorry, Mr. Patterson, but reality is we're probably glad. No, strike that. He's a good friend. He's a good friend. He knows I'm kidding.
So, and then just to touch on the Ocean Center, I mean, I was just there in March as well. They had the CBI college basketball tournament there as well, which is the third most prolific college, after season tournament. And they had a really, really good turnout. And ESPN really did love what they did there. And I got some TV time as well because I run the shot clock for those games. So,
good for you.
So that's always fun. It is. Until I screw up, and then I got to stop the game. But I did pretty good.
All
right, moving on to District 3. We touched on Doris Leaper, an increase to Beck Ranch Shade Canopy in the amount of $10,000, and then Longleaf Pine Preserve at $50,000 for a fishing dock and kayak launch. And then a part of the adjustment was removing the DeVito property seawall from this plan.
I just received a text message, as I sat here, from Councilmember Robbins, district member, who asked about reef arches, which I haven't had a chance to even read what he has sent me, but he is interested in that. So I just want to put that in your, it's for back of your thoughts.
Okay.
I will forward this information to you, and if it's something that we can do, we probably should take a look at it.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, and thank you for the bicentennial dog park improvements. That dog park down there is amazing. Does anybody have any questions on District 3? Okay.
Okay, District 4, you touched on Bicentennial. We also have some parking improvements at Highbridge and James Ormond Tomb Park, and then Strickland Park in Daytona, updating the restrooms and an ADA accessible path from the fields. And then we removed the Strickland Park lighting to LED in this district.
What are we going to do with dog park improvements there?
That's scheduled in fiscal year 20.
What are we going to do? What kind of improvements?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm into dogs, so.
Right. Good morning, Tim Bailey, Parks, Recreation, Culture Director again. So that park is really busy, right? And have you been to that location? So we're going to try to expand as we can,
Okay.
right? And there's some other benches and some other capital structures that we can add to make it more user-friendly. There's already some watering stations. We can add watering stations in other areas of that dog park area. But it's really, it's tough to keep up with the maintenance there because of all the dogs that
I know it's
that
very,
are there.
very
There used to
active.
be a lot of grass there. We replanted 3 times, I think.
Probably looks like my
And
backyard.
it goes right back to the sand because it's just so
Yeah.
many dogs
They-
on that footprint there. So, but it's a great site.
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
While Tim's here, can I ask him a question? Do we have a beginning, I'm not even sure if this question goes to you, but do we have a beginning date for when the Veterans Memorial Park
Right.
is going to be
Yeah.
started?
So I'm glad you asked that question because was it Tuesday of next week? It goes before County Council for award, and then in terms of processes, it takes approximately 30 days from that point for an NTP to be issued. And the project originally was $1.2 million. It came in at 1.3 and some change. So we had to identify additional funding sources to cover that cost, right? So in terms of leveraging and what we talked about match, right, a second ago, we use the park impact fees, the countywide park impact fees to cover that difference, right? So after that NTP is issued, that 30 days after award, then we plan on having the project done by October of this fiscal year, right? So that'll put us within the extension time frame. We didn't want to get outside of that extension time frame and come back to you for a request of extension. So we're planning on having it done in October.
Excellent.
Right.
So
Well, and there'll
it's-
be a ribbon cutting and,
So hopefully it'll be open for
We'll
Veterans
open-
Day.
Oh, that would be.
yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yep. And then we'll invite y'all for the ribbon cutting, and it's a great program. Josh put in a lot of money, if you remember right, out of his own pocket.
Yes, he did.
So, and he's been involved in all that. So, yeah, we're excited about it.
Great, thank you. Can I ask a question about the remove Strickland Park lighting to LED? Could you, I don't know who
So
wants to explain
we,
that.
we did the analysis, and it doesn't make sense to replace them until they're ready to be replaced.
Okay,
Because there are some cost savings with switching to LED, but it's not significant enough that we should do it before the lifespan on the current lights are done.
Okay, well, I'm thinking about what Manager Rosamonda had talked about, and so that's the answer on that one. Okay. Are you good? Okay, all right.
All right, so for District 5, a lot of projects out at Lyonia Preserve include an ADA boardwalk, a pavilion, and then a trail expansion, and then High Banks, an ADA floating dock. And then also Veterans Memorial lighting was removed as well for the same reason that Brad stated. And then we made 2 adjustments just to move Green Springs from 24 to 25 and Lake Monroe to 25 to 24 due to safety issues that take precedent at Lake Monroe.
Okay, questions on District 5? I have a couple. The ADA boardwalk at Lyonia, that's going to go from where to where? Do we know? Have we looked at that yet? Done a design on that?
Yes, that design has not been done. That's this year's project. So
Okay.
we're about to start
Okay, so
that.
we haven't done the design.
But it will go down from the LEC down to the preserve itself.
Okay. Oh, that's good. Okay. And then I think last year we were working on some exhibits. I think there was a recommendation to improve the exhibits, just like the Ocean Center had old stuff that goes back to 2012 or 2010 when we opened that doors on the LEC. The exhibits had never been updated, and I had asked that we do some update on exhibits. Do we know
That's correct.
done?
So there was $200,000 in last year's budget for
Right.
DCE to update those exhibits. At this point, at the January and quarterly report, so we'll get the next one. April 15th is the next deadline. They were 50% in design. 50% of the design was done. I know there's a traveling exhibit there as well with the wildlife of the wildlife corridor, but I know the team Ginger's team is working on those new exhibits at Lyonia.
Okay. And then finally, and this is maybe a county-wide issue, the floating dock we are increasing our population. It's amazing the increase in population in Volusia County, but we have not, as a county and or cities, increased usage, ability to get a boat out on the water on dockage. So is that something that we look at through ECHO, through our countywide DCE expenditure, or what is it, DC? Direct county, direct county expenditures, DCE. Have we looked at that, about how we get boats out in the water? I mean, I've got people that have called me that say they won't go boating now because the docks are so backed up.
Yeah, well, I can speak to the conservation land side of that, where kayak launches and canoe launches are a big part of our future plans on a lot of our preserves. For example, of our 10 preserves, we have 7 primitive campsites. 4 of those campsites are waterfront, whether they be on a river, a lake, or ponds. So very popular sites for kayaking. So our vision is to install kayak launches at all of those sites over time.
Well, these are like motorboats. They want to get out.
So motorboat access, I would have to let Tim Bailey on the Parks and Recreation side speak to any plans for that.
You're up, Tim. I'm sorry, but I'm getting calls on this one. We're not keeping up with the population with the...
Good morning, Tim Bailey, Parks, Recreation, Culture Director again. So we did add 2 just recently. So Shell Harbor was added, and there's it's quite a bit traffic through that. And if you remember, that is the only boat launch on Lake George in Volusia County.
Yeah.
So and we got that from donated properties, right? So that was a plus.
Yes, and I think Councilmember Patterson, when he was council
Yep,
member, worked
that's
on
right. That was a big win for us, right, for the county.
Yeah.
And then we just expanded Lemon Bluff. And so remember, that used to be that small...
Beautiful expansion, by
right,
the way.
that small boat launch there in Osteen. Now, with the new launch, you can launch a rather large boat that you couldn't launch before. Plus, we have all that parking that's on the other side. So we added 2. So the tough part with adding more countywide is you go out and acquire land. Sometimes it would require eminent domain. I don't have anybody coming to me and say, I'd like you to, right? So eminent domain might be a part of it if we're looking to add more along the St. John's or Halifax or other areas of the county.
Okay, thank you.
If I may add to that as well, I think one of the good things about having Echo and Volusia Forever under the same roof, in terms of division, is trying to create synergy. And so we're posturing at this point to acquire a piece on Lake George that has a boat ramp, slip, dock, what do we call it? The current family has a boat access, and so we plan to improve that for public access into the future.
Great. Okay, thank you. Any other questions on 5? Okay.
All right, and then this is the updated category that now includes the countywide project. So this was the Fairgrounds Phase 2 project went here. And then there were some small adjustments that were made in this plan as well. Move the dune walkover from 25 to 26. That inlet harbor area will be used as the Army Corps of Engineers will come in and use that for sand placement, so they can distribute that sand out to other sites. We changed the project title, and we removed Smyrna Dunes Park main pavilion renovation. Funding is coming from elsewhere, and the 9th Avenue Beach Access Dune Walkover was FEMA funded. And then the Marine Science Education Building went to this category as well. And that concludes the presentation for all of the districts.
Are there other questions for Daniel or this report?
Madam Chairman?
Mr. Altman, I'll come to you. Go ahead, Jeff.
Are there detailed plans just on the fairgrounds?
You're actually going to get a presentation of the fairgrounds today.
Okay, so this is just okay.
That was my question also, the $1 million to the fairgrounds.
Okay. And I only have, and I asked about this when we met earlier to go over the agenda. Art in public places, I really would like us to look at that for this program, how that affects this program, or whether it affects this program, because whether or not we're still doing art in public places, because that was a big one when I was on council, the set aside of construction dollars for art in public places. And also green, have we as a county said we are going to be doing sustainable green building practices on this? because I mean, we're sitting there out in the hallway. There is a big plaque that talks about we're a green county. So how are we implementing green technology aspects into any of these projects? Are we doing that? We're no longer a green county. We were certified green county when I was on council.
So I think this came up last time, and that
Yes, it did.
yeah, that the certification is expensive,
There are
and
several
so
levels, and there were also several. I'm not asking about certification necessarily, but I'm asking the practice.
yes,
Are we in the practice? I know the certifications.
Ginger Dare will speak to that. She's
Ginger.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Ginger Dare, Environmental Management Director. So yes, we are still a green local government with the Florida Green Building Coalition. We just did our update to that
Okay.
certification, and we're still certified at the silver level. So that is about county practices,
Right.
right? So not just about a specific building or
Right.
that sort of thing. We are also, while it's not required by the county council, we are building some new buildings to green standards. For instance,
Okay.
the sheriff's evidence facility and some others are also.
Are you involved with these projects that we're doing? I mean, are we doing green building practices on these projects?
Not necessarily as a whole county practice, although our development engineering folks who are involved in all of the construction projects are a fan, I guess I should say, right? They're proponents. And so we have many new buildings that have either green aspects or are actually certified as green buildings. On each of the direct county expenditure projects, no, I'm not specifically involved. I know when we do projects with environmental, of course, we try to implement any kind of green practices. And we're really good countywide at implementing practices that make financial sense. So those sorts of things like LED lighting and all of the enhancements that you can do to a building because it makes the cost of operating the building lower. So hopefully that answers your question.
Has Ralph ever done a seminar with our staff internally?
Certainly the staff
Okay.
is familiar with FGBC, and Ralph comes and talks to us,
Okay.
not necessarily the, at the elected or the board level.
Okay, I'll take it up with them then.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions, Mr. Egger?
I have a question, and this is just because I'm relatively new. At some future date, I'd love to have a better understanding of what we're doing at the Dora Sleeper Preserve. I think that's such a special, and just at some future date. Thank you.
We can put that on the agenda. That's near and dear to my heart.
Well,
too.
I just think I know that it's a beautiful spot, and we're spending a great deal on it, and I just want to better understand. So thank you.
So we have to take a motion on this one. You're looking for us to approve this will then go to the county council for their approval.
Correct.
And when will that be?
It's
date
scheduled for May 7th.
7th, okay. Can I get a motion to approve the updated ECHO Direct County Expenditure Plan?
I'll move to approve the updated
This is all
county
your fault
expenditure
anyway,
plan.
so-
What's that?
This is all your fault anyway. Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Well, we have a motion to send to the county council the updated ECHO Direct County Expenditure Plan. All those in favor, I don't think we need to take a roll call. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, you got it. Okay, thank you.
All right, moving on to new business.
Excuse me, do we have to do something?
Yeah, we just need Pat to give us a thumbs
Can you
up
give us a
or
thumbs up?
He mouthed aye.
he mouth eye. Okay.
There he goes, okay.
All right. Just
All
want
right.
to make sure he's counted.
Okay.
We don't want to leave him out today.
Okay, we are now going on to new business, and we will have the presentation of the Fairgrounds Master Plan. I think this is of great interest.
Yeah, so the request by the committee at the last committee meeting to bring back some more information on the fairgrounds.
Mhm.
And we have with us today Kaylin Taylor, the director of the Extension Office, to give that presentation.
Okay, great. The new Brad Burbaugh?
Yes, but I can't confirm or deny I can fill those shoes, so.
Okay.
All right, well, good morning. Thank you for having me. My name is Kaylin Taylor, University of Florida IFAS Extension Director. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to present the Fairgrounds Master Plan. One thing before I get started, I would like to share with you the image that's on the first slide. This is actually a photo that was taken of the original entrance to the fairgrounds in the 1920s, and the architect was William J. Carpenter. And the original location of the fairgrounds was located at west of land by the railroad tracks. And it moved locations for a number of years. And then in 1968, the first fair was held at the current location where we exist now.
So this picture is actually across from the Amtrak station.
Yes.
So where they was to put the elephants for winter, that was the original fairgrounds,
That was
those
the original
barns.
fairgrounds.
Mhm.
That's really interesting.
And unfortunately, when William J. Carpenter left, he was expecting to see that entrance for years and years to come, but unfortunately that didn't happen. There are some structures still there. So if you haven't been to the fairgrounds, I encourage you to come and visit. Just contact me. I'll be more than happy to show you around. From the map, you can see to the north is State Road 44, to the west is I-4, and to the east is Pervat. So we have, when we talk about the fairgrounds, it's a complex. So we are lucky enough to have the UF IFAS Extension office located there. We have the Volusia County Farm Bureau, Volusia County Cattlemen's, and the Volusia County Fair Association. We're unique in that we have all 4 partners and stakeholders located at one location. The map on the left has a breakdown on the ownership of the properties. So in total acres, there's 110.83 acres at the complex. The yellow color is property that's owned by the county, Volusia County. That's 23.09 acres. Volusia County Farm Bureau owns a total of 5.5 acres. That's indicated in the blue. And the Volusia County Fair Association, they own 72.96 acres, and that's indicated in the red on the map. So the map on the right-hand side, you can see there's a breakdown of the actual structures that are located on the fairgrounds. And many of you, if you have visited the fairgrounds, the 3 and 4, that is the Hester and Dougherty building, which is a location, a set of buildings that we will talk to quite often in this presentation. And then the number 6 is the Midway area, the area that we call the Midway because that's where all the fantastic rides and food vendors are set up during the fair. So just to get you acquainted with the grounds. Any questions on the location?
Yeah.
Yes.
You didn't mention the green. Who owns the green?
The green to the east is various property owners, and then also to the west or the
it's
south.
The Cattlemen's Association is the green.
Oh, the green on the left hand. Sorry. Yes, that's the Cattlemen's Association. So the Cattlemen's Arena and Cook Shack are located at that area.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Any other additional questions? All right. So the Fairgrounds Master Plan has 5 guiding principles, which are indicated on the screen. These guiding principles aim to preserve the fairgrounds' complex historical and cultural significance while enhancing the appeal and the usage of the complex. So that's planning to guide investments. We have applied for several different grants, and in order to make sure we're utilizing those funds responsibly, having a guide and plan to utilize those funds is important. Opportunities for community activities. There's a lot of various events that happen at the fairgrounds. Maximizing visitor experiences. identifying redevelopment opportunities, and promoting innovation. So, to ensure these guiding principles are met, a series of steps have been taken, and those steps include facilities assessments, looking at the current existing buildings, the grounds, and seeing what state that they're in. Also included in that was the general amenities that are offered at the fairgrounds. Having community input, what the community would like to see occur at the fairgrounds.
What does that actually mean, community input? What are
So
you going to do to get community input?
we've actually already done a survey to the community and then also a public meeting.
Okay.
Both of those occurred. The public meeting was in June of 2022 and the survey went out July of 2022. And we had roughly 30 participants at the public meeting and over 360 participate in the public survey. And then the third step was acquiring a conceptual plan of the master plan. So from that survey, that public survey, there's 2 slides or set of data that I pulled from them. And it says, how important are the fairgrounds to your quality of life in Volusia County? And as you can see, the 4th one down, it's very important. And 110 indicated that the quality of life of the fairgrounds is very important to them. And then in your opinion, do the fairgrounds need improvements? And over 70% indicated yes, that the fairgrounds do need improvements made. So as a result of both the public survey and the public meeting, a list of priorities was developed. And as you can see, the top 3 go back and forth between adding and enhancing facilities, community events and programs, and amenities throughout the fairgrounds. Any questions on
question.
survey or meeting?
I have a question on the survey.
Mhm.
How did you select the recipients, the population that you were going to survey?
So the survey was, we did emails to some of our stakeholders that are involved with the University of Florida IFAS Extension Office, and then those who are involved with the Volusia County Fair. And then we also advertised, if I remember correctly, on Facebook for people to participate in this survey as well.
Okay, so when I look at very important, then I'm going, I'm not arguing with it, I'm just saying, so, but the people that participated in the survey were fairly well acquainted with the fairgrounds and used it to some extent already.
So some of them, correct. Yes, that is an accurate statement. And then some, which I don't have the data in front of me, some of them, because we asked that question, how many times do you visit the fair? And we did have a few respondents that hadn't visited the fair before, which was kind of interesting. And then we did have some that had been once or twice. It was kind of lower in the amount of visitation. You're welcome.
And you had almost 400 and some people at the public meeting?
No, at the public meeting, we had just over 30.
Okay, I got it backwards.
For the survey,
Okay.
we had over
Close to 100.
330.
One of the things, Pat, as well, is that we tried to cast a wide net, and we tried to get the public as well as the stakeholders of the fairgrounds to participate. So press releases, we talked about on Volusia Today. We put it on Facebook pages. We asked people to share it. So there was a wide net. Interestingly, we had a lot of people that had been to the fair 1 or 2 times. This was right after COVID. So that the fairgrounds is where they were giving, vaccinations and tests. So a lot of people, I think, who were at the fairgrounds for those reasons also participated in this survey.
I just wanted to say that it seems to me that it doesn't matter. It's such a range of activities, et cetera, that it is so hard to reach the public, to tap them on the shoulder and say, you need to participate in this. And this is not unique to the fairgrounds. I can think about our marketing and everything else. It seems like, to me, it's very, very difficult to reach the public. that would complain, but they may not participate in shaping the direction. So that's why I asked the question. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Any additional
Other
questions?
questions? No? Don't see
All right.
any.
So this is another set of data. The scale 0, not important, 10, very important. As you can see, the level of importance, the highest one was ranking ag education, associated industry activities. But I would like to point out 3 different ones. The entertainment for residents ranked high, events, activities, and infrastructure that highlight environmental awareness, and then also highlighting innovative technologies were captured in that survey.
And echo related.
Some emergent themes, preparing the east side development, reconditioning the roads using green infrastructure. One of the issues that we have in the Midway area is drainage. So incorporating that green infrastructure to provide adequate drainage, lighting, shading. If you've been to the fairgrounds in that Midway area, it's hot. There isn't any shade, so incorporating that so people have a longer stay when they're there is important. Incorporating those renewable energy and addressing building deficiencies that we have. Develop and attract the shaded areas again for both outdoor and cultural activities, and developing new venues.
Can we get that architecture back? I love that entrance piece. Are we looking at doing anything with the entrance?
We have not discussed that. Yeah, we haven't discussed of adding a entrance piece. There's quite a few entrances to the fairgrounds.
But the main entrance is off of 44, so.
For our building, yes.
Yeah.
To the fairgrounds, they would.
Right, when you come into the fair, you come in through the back. At least,
correct.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That's just such a cool piece.
It is. It is a really unique piece.
When we rebuilt the mainland that we have now, we used the architectural elevations from the Bay Street building, since I attended the Bay Street building.
Are you
But
listening, Mr. Burbank? Or
we
Dr.
we
Burbank?
use the elevations from that 1925 building
It's a
for
great
our
look.
new mainland. Thank you.
If we can't incorporate it, it would be nice to at least have the image and have it displayed at the fairgrounds at least.
Yeah. Don't tell me image.
Our funding sources. So in 2021, we are awarded $750,000 in ARPA funds. That has helped pay for the master plan fees, the design and engineering plans, paving for shell roads, new signage, because that was definitely one of the things that people had mentioned was directional signs. When you get to the complex, it's really challenging to know where you're going. And then improvements to the Hester and Dougherty building. FDACS, which is the Florida Department of Ag and Consumer Services. We were awarded in 2023 a $1 million grant, and that was for their agricultural facility enhancement grant. And again, utilizing them for the same purpose as the ARPA funds. And then on here we have the ECHO DCE for 2024 at $1 million and ECHO DCE 2025 for $1 million. And again, improving that drainage, adding those new lighting to the Midway area, and then using the improvements as education demonstration area to highlight the use of these technologies. And then also funding permits developing a celebration plaza for community and cultural events.
There would be. And I'm going to put my 2 cents in here again about art in public places, which in previous renovations we've done well with that. Those big paintings of kids and animals. I think that's a Hester building that they're in. That came out of the art in public places from the county council years ago, and we really need, we really need to look at anything new, how we incorporate art in public places in this, the entrance location would be great.
When someone had mentioned that earlier, I actually wrote it down in my notes, the art in public places, because I've seen it around the county, but I didn't know specifically that was what it was called. So
Those pieces that they have a committee that selects that stuff, and those pieces particularly were selected to go with that building, and they are great pieces. They're great pieces. So
I have plans to look into that more, that art in public places. Any questions regarding the funding sources?
okay, are there any other questions? Okay, thank you. We have more?
All right. So for the Hester and Dougherty, these are the plans that we have for some of the improvements. So the first section is allowing external access to the restrooms, which on the bottom part of the slide you can see, I wish I could mark on here, a entrance, and then it's incorporating a wall that would allow only access to the restrooms and not access to the Hester and Dougherty building for certain events if they're only utilizing the midway area. And then incorporating glass doors and a glass wall, and then we could utilize that new space that has been created for different activities out at the fairgrounds. This is what the front of the building is projected to look like. The roll-up doors, we would like to incorporate insulation, so we're not losing air and AC, make it more energy efficient, and then utilizing storefronts to make it more opening and inviting to the public.
I will share with you when the consultant came, she's like, you have a warehouse in the middle of a field at your fairgrounds. It's not inspiring.
It is not inviting. So for the midway area, this isn't a very good diagram or draft that they gave us. It's kind of hard to see, but what you're looking at is light placement. So the lights at the top, those are replacing existing lights with more energy efficient LED lights. And then at the bottom, those are all new lights because it is very dark in the midway. So this offers a security piece as well. For the midway area, again, some of the areas, what we would like and what we found out, as Brad has mentioned during the COVID vaccines and the test give outs, it would have been nice to be able to control the ingress and regress of traffic. So the new plan would allow for that. It would allow for us to block off certain areas to direct traffic more efficiently. And then also it would allow for, like when we have the farmers market, the Farm Bureau farmers market every Wednesday, it would allow for staging of those vendors to look more like a market square. It looks more intentional with this new design as opposed to the existing design. Another thing is paving the shell roads, because that's another thing that we ran into during the amount of traffic that we had during COVID is just all the dust that accumulated during that event. And then if we were to have another emergency type situation, again, being able to control that traffic in and out of the grounds is really important. So that glass area I was talking about, this is what that would look like. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Excuse me. Do the fairgrounds still operate as the pet shelter during a hurricane and in these buildings? I'm thinking of the parking, the direction, and everything else. Does that still function that way during hurricanes?
Yes, ma'am.
And so it's in the Hester Dougherty building?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
So this is the area, that glass wall I was talking about. That's kind of what it would look like. This picture, I'd like for you to concentrate on the building itself, and you can see that storefront look to it. Again, inviting. It doesn't look just like a cold warehouse. Some ideas for the green infrastructure that we've presented. This is incorporating green infrastructure to those education and demonstration areas. The good thing is we have a plethora of Master Gardener volunteers who are really good and very passionate about growing green things. And so the maintenance of this would definitely not be a problem. These are some ideas for that Celebration Plaza, that area to offer shade. And then for future plans, on that list would be a multi-use open air facility, land acquisition to both the east and the west. That was brought up quite a bit during our public meeting. And then big future plans is having a Volusia Forever Conservation Center, an environmental education trail and parking area. So this is some pictures of what the multi-use open air facility would look like. This is a map of the future land acquisition both to the east and the west.
Can I stop you there and ask you about the land?
Yes,
to the
ma'am.
west? Is that where they were at one time talking about putting a truck stop?
The east has had discussions of a truck stop. To the west, that's been discussions regarding housing and industrial use.
Yeah, I'm sorry, industrial use. Yeah, okay, so we're looking at acquiring that property so that we would actually be adjacent to the interstate, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
So between us and I-4.
Good thing to do.
And then this is some conceptual plans for that Volusia Forever Conservation Center. And then on the map to the right, you can see the trail system if that land to the east of us was acquired with parking area. Any additional questions?
Any additional questions?
Well, yeah, I just want to reiterate, I think what Pat just said about that land acquisition. That was going to be one of my questions. It's extremely important. It seems like you're kind of landlocked, and with
We are.
four different owners on that building, on that, that's a unique situation which really prohibits a real master plan from, moving forward. You have to get approval from 4 different organizations.
So fortunately, with all 4 partners, we have a great relationship, and they have been involved since the beginning in discussions with this master plan and even the development of those conceptual plans. So like I mentioned, it's great that we have a working relationship with them, and they're all supportive of the master plan.
There were also some suggestions in the master plan for those entities to do. Like an upgrade to the cattlemen's facilities. We went out and met with cattlemen's to try to get them to apply for an ECHO grant. But like many farmers, they don't want the government involved in their business. So I know the Fair Association has engaged, folks to help them write an ECHO grant that just came too late last time. So they understand that they're part of this master plan process too, and hopefully will seek out funds to do their part.
And several of them have already started taking on those suggestions and making plans for improvements. So the cattlemen's have been working diligently over the past couple months of improving parts of the arena in preparation for Cracker Day.
And so what is the timeline on this? Remind me again of the timeline.
So our plans hopefully will be finalized by the end of the month, and we would like to start construction by January 2025
Okay.
and be done by end of August 2025. because we do have the fair. So we have to account for a very large event taking place.
And are you working separately on the acquisition of those 2 parcels that we saw on the plan for the future acquisition? Is that being worked on or simultaneous?
So we haven't received direction from council on that. We've asked these 2 phases. When we take it back in September, that will be our next ask.
Okay, 'cause that's really important.
Yeah, so that is, the county wants to acquire that. We're not, it's going to be county acquisition.
It was suggested that the county acquire it. We haven't received direction from council. I will tell you, probably the west side is a large 120-acre parcel that's along I-4 and will probably receive some commercial development because it is the last open, I think, exit on I-4 besides, I guess, Lake Helen.
Corridor, yeah, it is.
So the east side is more attractive in terms of acquisition. I will say we did take into account development at that east, on the west side, Kilimanjaro piece, and have done a roundabout. So if you were have to get to that development, you could not come in from the front. So we suggested a roundabout at the southwest corner of the Fairs property, which would give them access to that property, but also do a nice road all the way around with some sidewalks and a path. So the perimeter of the fairgrounds would be walkable for people who wanted to.
And the other comment, just to reemphasize what Pat said about, the historic entrance that first picture. Amazing, beautiful architecture of a long lost time, but Jay would probably like this. One of our criteria in Orange County for cultural facilities is architecture. And does this inspire creativity and beauty and art? Is this something you want to leave behind for the next generation? And when you get good architectural designs together, you can make a lasting impression. And I hope that we could do something along that lines.
Well, I didn't say much. I mean, they.
You've been quiet today, Jay.
I have been quiet today, but it does need. The fairgrounds. It does need an entrance, probably more than one entrance. But I mean, I've driven across 44 for 25 years now, and it's just so sad that should be something that you really want to go into and everything. And I was there for COVID, and yeah, it was dusty and miserable, and I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, you do have a warehouse in the middle of a dust bowl. So, I mean, the improvements are definitely there, but, I mean, long-term, it would be really nice to have some kind of iconic entrance. I don't know that we need to look like the 1920s, but I would like to see something that's iconic and not just a sign,
Madam Chairman, I just want to say that I think the land acquisition is the single most important thing. I agree with these other improvements that you're working on, but 10, 15, 20 years from now, we're going to go, oh my God, why didn't we buy that land to the right and to the left, to the east and the west? I mean, I feel like at times you're maxed out as it is, with the current thing, and the land's never going to be cheaper. There's certainly not, once it's developed, you're not going to be able to buy it. And the land to the west would be my preference. The land, I have a question on the land to the east. Is that environmentally sensitive? Is that why the plan showed a walking trail and eco, museum or whatever? What?
So it is. Yeah, it's pretty wet. But we don't know. It's never been the problem with it. There's like 7 owners of that parcel, 7 different ownership groups of different parcels in there. And so, judging individual parcels through the forever process would not be favorable to that piece. Now, if we got them all together, it would probably score higher. So, one of the things, and I think that the consultants told us that didn't come out in this presentation, is the preserves, the 11 preserves that you have acquired through Volusia Forever are all within 20, like 9 of them are within 20 minutes of the fairgrounds. So when you get people coming off I-4, you know,
The fairgrounds it's an amazing place. We need to really do this right.
yeah. So we will ask for acquisition in the next phase.
Great.
And then just a comment regarding entrance. You know, to me, festive would be the adjective that I would use for an entrance. I mean, in other words, fun, exciting, festive, you know, a place that you actually want to go. I mean, that historic photo is interesting, but does it connote festive? Does it connote fun? Does it connote, you know, I mean, all the things that would attract kids and families and, you know, so it's just my opinion. Thank you.
Okay. You got a lot of opinions up here, so
Yep, everybody has one.
please take them seriously, because I think we all mean what we say, so.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. We don't have to take action on this, correct?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you again.
Okay. And can we have them come back occasionally and update us on where we're at?
Sure.
Do an
We can do
update?
it each year as part of the DCE plan presentation.
Oh, great.
Because this is a
Great.
countywide one.
Yep.
I think it's important.
Thank you. Okay, we're now going to go to review of ECHO guidebook changes. And who's taking that?
All right, so these are recommendations to the ECHO guidebook for committee consideration today that we put together. The summary. Maybe just zoom in a little bit for them so I can see it. You guys can see that? Okay, so here are the recommended changes with the rationale as well as the page number in the guidebook where the change has been made. Do you guys want me to go over these one by one?
Well,
or
let's start with so clarification is just clarifying a current rule, and a modification is a policy change. So for your benefit, that's why we've categorized them that way. So
And they're all highlighted in the, I mean, when you go
yes, we've
through it.
tracked changes as part of the
Yeah.
guidebook, so you can see these.
Has everybody looked at that already? And do you want to hear more information, or are you okay? Are you prepared to do a presentation on this? I don't want to cut you off, but
No, I was just going to take, these are for your consideration and then, you know, up for discussion. So,
I would ask if you would clarify on page 7 exactly what that language means to the program and give us some examples.
So right now, for-profit agencies can be management partners. So let's say we have a for-profit agency that is managing a municipal-owned facility. We would allow them to have a management agreement. However, if they were already in place managing that agreement as a for-profit entity, they couldn't apply for ECHO. That's what this is saying. So we encourage public-private partnerships by saying a private partner can operate an ECHO facility or an ECHO project.
Do we have any examples currently of that?
Jackie Robinson Stadium.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And would this also impact Councilmember Dempsey's program that he wants to do with dirt bikes? Isn't it dirt bikes he's doing?
So I think the plan is a direct county expenditure. If that, if the motocross facility moves forward, so this wouldn't apply to that. But if that came through the grant process, yes. I didn't think of that one, but that's a good example.
So clarification then, with this change, the Jackie Robinson Park would not be eligible for an ECHO grant?
They would be.
They would be. Okay, thank you.
But they would be subject, because one of the issues the last time was that they didn't even know, they didn't have any information what they were going to do with that site. Aren't I right? Yeah. They're nothing other than a building, and they were going to maybe let the public use it, maybe not. During certain times, I reread the grant.
Yes, they were not ready.
Okay.
And I think staff made that clear to them that they've worked hard, and they're actually going to, I think they've bonded $40 million, if I remember correctly. So they're going to do the whole enhancements in two phases. They've selected a firm to work with as well recently. That's all.
Okay. Questions on the summary of changes? I have, and I don't know whether it belongs here or not, but in the minutes, I believe it was the minutes, we talked about the need to align the application with our scoring sheets. And I don't know that that has happened yet, or whether that's part of this process, but that was really important, the scoring sheets. And I understand where the council was coming from. I get it, but they were difficult to align with
Yes.
the grant application.
We heard you loud and clear, and we've already had some discussions internally about, we will put next year the sections that you should be looking at when you're scoring that, so you will know which section applies to each section of the grant, or each section of the rubric.
Okay.
We will definitely do that. We heard you.
And just from the chair perspective, and I'm trying to find it now, but there was a comment about the chair being part of the process when it was presented to the county. And they always were, when I was served on the council, they have not been much of a presence lately. I mean, I didn't feel like I was, as the former chair, as the chair of this, the last time we had a presentation, we didn't even acknowledge who was in the audience. We need to do that. We need to do a better job of whoever comes in after chairman, after me, that they are part of the process, so that the committee, the county council, recognizes the importance of this committee. And I would say that for Volusia Forever too, because I don't think, is it Jessica who was the chair of Volusia Forever? Jessica Gal, who's the chair there?
Wanda Van Dam's current chair.
Oh, Wanda, okay. I don't think Wanda was called out as chair. So that's just a personal issue that I noticed, and I would ask that we be a little more inclusive of the two programs when they go before council, of the committees.
I have a question. When we were going through the grant approval process most recently, one of the things we struggled with as a committee was when we had projects that were relatively large in scope, possibly multi-year. Was there a way to do something, and it wouldn't be perhaps in this, but I'd like to put it forward for discussion, would be something that you might approve a project in concept, so that somebody, before they go forward with the investment in design, et cetera, recognizing that it's multi-year, but we love the concept, we supported the concept, and I know I'm thinking from education funding. They don't, at the university level, they do PICO dollars for a year for planning, PICO for construction, and then PICO for completion and furniture. But I'm just trying to think, when we've had large projects, and the fairgrounds or the Dorothy, any one of those, sometimes when people come in, applicants come in and say design build, some projects are suitable for design build, others really are not. But because they have to be shovel ready, there's not a way to approach this and be a successful applicant without I'd like to have us take a look at the steps that we require to make sure that the public interest is safeguarded, that we have entities that are available to begin to advance a project, plan a project, that we're familiar with it and can support the project in concept and help that move forward, because some of the larger projects will require that. Now, when it's a county-owned project like the fairgrounds or Doris Leaper, that's the way that works. Mm-hmm. But if we have something that's owned by another jurisdiction or a not-for-profit, and I'm even Stetson, something that looks at what's required to do a multi-year with a recognition that before you invest, and I think Edgewater did $800,000 in planning, master planning for their site, and they're hoping to be successful subsequently for some of their site enhancement. Something I just would like for us to contemplate a way to do that, to ensure the public interest, to ensure that we have a long-term planning approach, and that we allow successful applicants.
Is there any comment on that? I think it's.
Yeah, I'll
well
comment.
said.
Yeah, I like that idea. I think applicants at any time can come to an ECHO meeting and tell us about a future project. In 2021, we tried to get municipalities and organizations to come forward to 5 countywide meetings we had and talk to us about what are your plans for the future. We want to try and come up with a long-term plan for ECHO. It was very difficult to get people to actually come and tell us anything. Maybe we need to encourage that a little bit more, but I think we've always been open to that. I just don't think applicants have taken advantage of it or really seen the advantage of coming and telling us about a project that they have maybe next year or 2 years from now.
When I watched the county council examination and approval of the various projects, and I saw the series of questions that Troy Kent in particular asked, I felt that any applicant would have to be very, very far along and have invested substantial dollars, whether or not they had an anticipation of being a successful grant applicant. And I think that recognizing that there may be multiple steps would meet concerns. So that's.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think we kind of touched on it a little bit last meeting, but I think a phased approach so that people knew that, yeah, we're interested. So, bring us something that's appropriate and keep going.
You know, I think it might be time that it's been a while since we have had a joint workshop with the county council. It's a whole new county council with it. I listened like you did and heard some stuff that was wow. That's different. And maybe we should request a workshop with the county council to discuss these issues. I'm thinking of DeBerry. I'm thinking of the marketing. Oh, he's left. Jack's left. The marketing issue, how we market the program, how we fund not fund the program. We know how we fund the program, but how we distribute funds, whether the match, and I'm looking at Carmen's letter, whether the match is correct, whether that would lowering the match would get us more projects, because we are carrying a fairly significant amount of revenue reserves. So I don't know. How do y'all feel about that?
If I may, I think the two-phase concept is a really good idea. Just to boil down some numbers, if a city is requesting a $600,000, a city or a nonprofit requesting a $600,000 grant, it's going to be at least $1.2 million project, right? The soft costs on that could easily be 10 to 20%. So you're talking, it could be $250,000. $250,000 that they have to invest under the current rules in order to be shovel ready, okay? And they don't know whether or not they're going to get the $600,000. I know there were some comments last time, well, but those plans, they don't go to waste. But cities are risk adverse. They don't want to spend money on something that they may or may not be able to ever build. So they don't want to put those plans on the shelf, hoping that somewhere down the road they get funded for that project. So I really think that the first phase, where I don't know exactly what that looks like, but it's an approval of the concept and maybe a preliminary reservation of funds for them to come back with, so they can go back to their commissions and say, okay, they like our concept. They're setting aside the money for us, and in the next cycle, we know we can invest the money in the soft costs with a much higher level of certainty than we would have going in just cold. Okay, so I think that's really at the end of the day, the objective is to get more grants out there, get more money into the public sector, get more projects done. How do we reduce the barriers, the impediments?
Right.
And I'm pleased that staff is going to hire a consultant to help us with our process. Apparently, a lot of applicants have said it's easier to get a federal grant than it is to
And
get
it's
an ECHO
ours,
grant. Okay, so
Yeah.
so that may be the case. I don't know. I've never applied for one, but I think at the end of the day, we want to lower the barrier without risking abuse of public funds. And then I'll also repeat the comment I made last time, which is that all of the money is taxpayer money. Every dime that goes into, whether it's grant or match, whether it's a municipality, the county, or a not-for-profit, where are they getting the money? Even the not-for-profits. That's taxpayer money. Those are donations from taxpayers, and almost exclusively people in Volusia County, I would suspect, in the grand scheme of things. So it's all the money of the people who voted 80-90% to continue this program that's funding these programs. I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't be diligent about protecting the funds and making sure that people do what they say they're going to do. But I do think that we should look at a way to reduce the risk, especially to cities and nonprofits. And then relative to marketing, I love the suggestion that Jack Surratt made of the TDCs.
Oh, I did too. That was
There's three
amazing.
of them,
Yeah.
in Volusia
Yeah.
County, on the west
Absolutely.
side, the east side, and
New
Deltona.
Smyrna.
Yeah. Oh, New
Yes.
Smyrna.
New
That's right, New Smyrna.
Southeast,
Yeah, southeast. And now, obviously, they're, I mean, I would say their primary objective is put heads in beds, because that's where their revenue source comes from. But this is a way to put some heads in beds if they get the word out, and a staycation. Okay, local
Georgia
people.
Turner from West Volusia is already, she said something like 38% of her calls are about trails and how people can use trails. So trails over here are a big deal, and she's already doing some marketing on that. But I think you're right. I think they could do more. They could do more on our eco resources, and that's a budgetary issue for the council, because they
Right.
take their budgets before the council.
Right, and maybe just a thought to encourage the TDCs to do that. Maybe there's sort of some cooperative funds from ECHO to the TDCs to help prime the pump. If you invest whatever 50 grand or something in promoting ECHO projects, we'll kick in 10 grand or something. I don't know. Somebody needs to look at that. And I get the final thing was just get more money out. I think at the end of the day, and I guess I have one question for staff. You use the phrase reserve stabilization. I assume that means there's a future goal that you want to have no more than X number of dollars in reserves in future years, so you plan out these DCE expenditures in future years?
Not typically, sir. It was really to keep it from growing year after year. Before the DCE, it was growing about $4 to $5 million a year. And so the DCE, by developing a 5-year plan, I think was the strategy that we took. So we can adjust in future years if we need to, the DCE, but there will always be money for the grants as long as the tax is levied by the council.
Okay. So is there an acceptable level of, what does staff envision the appropriate level of reserves at any given moment is?
I'd have to ask our CFO
Oh, okay.
what his opinion is. I know when it was getting towards 20 million, there were questions about should we levy the 0.2 mils.
Oh, well, that's a really bad idea. It's a really bad idea to reduce the millage rate, the levy, because the way better idea is get the money out.
Exactly. So we want to figure that out, and I don't know. I know this council doesn't necessarily meet. I mean, they have streamlined a lot of what they do, but I really think it is important that they hear from, and maybe do a joint Volusia Forever and ECHO workshop with them. I don't know, but I think there are questions out there, I'm hearing them from council or from committee members, that we can make recommendations all day, but it's really good to see face to face, to sit there face to face with them. So I will leave it at that because I don't see much enthusiasm for meeting with them.
Well,
But I would like to do that.
as a member of Volusia Forever as well,
That's right.
and Echo, we need the synergy. We really do, and I think that was brought up at our last meeting briefly, to just the idea of meeting with Echo.
So, if I may, and just kind of summarizing what I'm hearing from the group and try to thread the needle here. So, 3.1 million is the maximum for a facility can get from us. That is the max. So that's one exceptional grant at 2.5 million and one standard grant. So if we operated under the current rules, we could potentially say 600,000 is available for phase one to support the conceptual plan and for you to continue to get the drawings. And then this would be for exceptional projects only. We've had in the last iteration of the program, I think 4 over the life of the 20 years, 3 or 4 exceptional. We've had 4 or 5 in this one already in this round. So lowering that match has helped as well. But this keeps the rules in place, but it gives them kind of some seed money in that first standard grant to vet their concept.
So as I listened to what Dwight was saying and also what you're saying, and it occurred to me, for example, with this extraordinary grant, where with the value of the land, that's a land match that's substantial. So having a grant that helped pay for the soft cost, it wouldn't be shovel ready, okay? It would not meet that criteria, but it helps move the project away and along. And I was thinking of some of the playhouse and the theaters that we've worked with, if they were able, they have a match because they have the building, they have quite an asset. If they were able to apply for even the soft cost initially and then come back with the construction, that's not shovel ready, but it means that it really gets the money out in a very responsible way. And to move forward with substantial architectural and engineering drawings and not know that you have a project that will go forward, I think is difficult for some of the nonprofits.
Did you put together a committee, or were you going to put together a committee for the strategic plan? To get these kinds of questions out in the community for them to speak to us through the strategic plan?
So strategic plan has 3 tasks. One, it is to look at do an inventory of assets across the county. What's deficient? What are future plans? Where should there be investment by ECHO? So it's kind of that long range plan. The second task is to look at our process. The process, as Dwight shared and Teresa will share, and many grant writers who, one comment, it's an isolated incident, but when there's multiple comments, it's a pattern that needs to be addressed. And we have an arduous grant process. It's that simple. It's because we continue to just add rules to address every situation, is what it seems like to me. We've asked them to look at our process and to fully integrate it from application to annual reporting. How do we do that?
Have we asked people like that know the process to be involved?
Yes. What we've asked the consultant to do is to do some focus groups.
Okay.
So there will be focus groups for that task 1 with municipal and nonprofit partners. Task 2, there'll be focus groups with our grant writers and individuals who apply to the program. The third task of that is to look at, given that we require individual projects to be marketed, how can we holistically market ECHO? What are some suggestions they have in terms of engaging with the tourist development councils, and having a focus group with some of those folks as well. So that's kind of.
And this committee would be included, would be given those dates.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's out on the street right now. We haven't received any proposals. I think it went out yesterday, Daniel. So this week.
Okay. Okay. Is everybody happy with that?
That was a lot of my questions. I had actually when I reread the minutes from our last meeting and was looking at my notes, I was expecting some more information about when those workshops would be, because we've been talking about it for a long time. I think, well, long time since I've been here, which is just the whole time. I did want to say I thought staff did a really good job of taking the recommendations for the language change and some of the things to the guidebook, but it does seem a little bit like we're putting a Band-Aid on it and just keep moving forward and trying to be very reactionary rather than do some of the things that Dwight brought up with is, yes, we do want more applicants, and they are limited due to some of the factors that we suggested. But the strategic plan just went out yesterday, you said?
It went out on the 9th.
On the 9th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so do we have, we don't have an idea yet then when these meetings will be convening, the focus groups?
We do not. The bid closes on May 8th.
So one of the things that we struggled with as a committee, or I specifically, was the clarity on the design build versus the shovel ready.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that almost every application that we reviewed in this past go-round had that question. And one of the Band-Aids, if you will, that was put on was that design build was okay, although it was unclear as to how we were to score those. And so I'm curious, because we're going into the next part of our agenda is the second cycle. So maybe there could be some more clarity on that if we are to review the applications again prior to a new application in the strategic committees and focus groups meeting to maybe add clarity to that.
So I will share, design build is not an acceptable process. It's design bid build, and I will own that. I've characterized it wrong in this meeting. I've characterized it wrong to Carmen. But design build does not have plans. It's basically a concept plan, and then it's value engineered throughout the process, and it starts at about 60%. They start construction when they have about 60%, is my understanding from our county engineer. So as it is now, a design build would not be acceptable. That's what Daytona was going to do last time. CMAR is another, construction manager at risk is another kind of design build approach. The problem with design build is if we fund something up front, we don't really know what we're going to get in the end because it's value engineered. But I think if we go with the solution that Dwight and others may propose is we'll give folks an opportunity up front we will invest in the project if we approve the concept within the current rules that you can get a standard and an exceptional grant. Those are the ones I would be worried about, are those large amounts, those $2.5 million projects where, hey, we're investing, would Carmen say, $1.8 million in their investment, and not knowing into the future. I think council would be amenable to that type of change because they want to help our municipal partners, but do it within the confines of the rules.
And then just clarity, we could make those changes in advance of waiting for the strategic plan and the rewrite of the whole application and focus group meetings.
Certainly, you could make those recommendations, council.
Okay. Back to the agenda item. Do we need to approve this? It says review, but I think we probably need to approve the changes, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, is there anybody who wants to, there she is, to approve the review of, approve the ECHO guidebook changes that were recommended by the staff?
I'll move we approve the ECHO guidebook changes as presented by staff.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
And we have a first and a second. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Stephanie, is there any additional or Dwight, a motion, or Jeff that you want to make today, or do you want to wait until we get the results of the strategic plan?
Okay.
We don't
I
have-
don't think I don't think it requires a motion
Okay.
at this point. I think staff has heard our
Okay.
recommendations and
We're
heard the
good then.
discussion. I'd like to hear what the consultant, I
Okay.
got a feeling
Yeah.
the consultant is gonna understand, the issue, probably see it, might be abundantly obvious, and they'll come back with some suggestions.
All right, we
that'll,
can do that. Then we'll move on to review additional grant cycle. Can I ask a question too? There must be a camera that's in front of your face, correct?
Yes.
It is very disturbing when you're sitting up here. If you're short, the short people, we can't see them, so I'm just complaining. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You're-
Can you put the calendar up for me?
Oh, when the I'm
I'll stand
sorry,
tall.
but when the woman from the Ocean Center, I kept focusing on the.
Well, this
camera.
does go up and down too, by the way.
Yes, that's
So,
right. It does. Okay. Yeah, they are short. I'm short. I'm sitting there thinking when I address the council, what are they looking at? They're looking at the camera or me? I'm going to look at me. Anyway, okay, go ahead. I'm
All
sorry.
right. So at the county council meeting on April 2nd, I was going to touch on this in my staff comments, but I might as well wrap it up here. So 7 apps were recommended for funding. And then the New Smyrna application that was not recommended by you guys did get approved as well. And then the DeBerry application was deferred or postponed to the second grant cycle, which this calendar was presented to them there. So this is our draft calendar for the new mid-spring cycle.
And it's draft because this is where we have a conversation as a committee if some one of these dates will not work for you. We'll pull the council chambers calendar up, Jill, if we need to change any of these.
And obviously we'll have 2, cycles kind of going on at the same time and interfering. So we try to do the best of, incorporating the calendars to make them efficient.
But
you
April
know.
25th is not required of the committee,
That is
correct?
No,
Right.
just
So-
the applicants.
Just the applicants, and then you have a technical grant deadline that won't be committee, and then final committee would be Wednesday, August 14th, and then September 12th.
Correct. Those are the 2 dates that we really need guidance on.
Okay. And I looked at my calendar, and they're fine for me. Did everybody get a chance to review them?
I mean, I may have a problem with the 12th of September. Of course,
Are you gone that week, Jay, or you want to move it? Try to move it a day, or
I'm out that week.
okay.
Okay. Can we ask for the staff to take?
The following week, Jill. What's the calendar look like in the chambers,
Up to the 5th.
or the week before on the 5th?
The 16th.
Can't hear you.
We're looking at it.
Okay. Want to just take a look at that and get back with us? Is there other problems in September that members?
What
would-
about September 5th?
I'm good with that.
I'm good with September 5th.
I have a conflict on September 5th.
What about September 6th?
I think I'm at a conference. It's
Okay.
4, 5, and 6.
All right.
Wednesday, Thursday.
17th is a council meeting. So what about the 19th?
How about before the council meeting?
I'm okay.
PLDRC
Okay.
is on the 19th.
What about the 18th?
18th.
Can we meet in the workshop room or?
So we really like to record these because a lot of the public listen to them, and it requires significant resources of the AV team to set us up down there.
Well, what about the 18th? How does that work?
That's code board.
What time?
8 to 2.
Okay. About the 20th.
Felicia forever.
There was a
Wait,
lot.
no.
It was this was the hardest date for us to try to put on the calendar because there was a lot of.
What if we met at 1 in the afternoon instead of at 9?
Well, this is where we actually score, correct?
Yes.
That's correct.
Yeah, yeah. So, what was that?
Is it available?
I'll make myself available, so I'm not planning on doing anything except, yeah, 25th?
25th works for me.
5th is going once.
Is the 25th open?
You can't make the 25th? You
Okay.
can. You can? Yep. 25th?
Yep.
25th.
25th, September 25th. Final answer.
5th, yeah.
Smart aleck.
Good job.
Okay.
Okay. And do we need to take a motion on that? Because this again says review, or just, I'm looking at the attorney.
I think this was an informational item. We just wanted to
Okay.
get your
All
input
right.
in terms of the dates.
Okay, you all good with that? We're good, okay, thank you.
And just a question, so then the next cycle also starts, when does the next cycle start? Just making sure I understand what's going on.
Right around the same
That-
time.
Of course, I'm
It's-
clueless.
Right around the same time. The technical app is due in December. The September workshop is September 26th. So
Daniel?
So he's saying that the annual cycle will start in September. Just as we're awarding these at council,
Second
we'll start another cycle.
Which is only this time, it is not routinely going to be a second cycle, we're only doing it for this time.
That is
Okay.
correct.
All right, okay.
Daniel, we'd like to take a minute to make sure Pat Patterson is okay with the 25th.
okay.
Okay.
Can you give us a thumbs up?
See him there? We just can't see him, right?
Pat Patterson, can you give me a thumbs up?
You might text him?
He's looking around.
I mean, he texted me to tell me he couldn't make the,
I can see him. Yeah, he just.
Is he awake?
Pat, can you hear me now? Can you give me a thumbs up to see for September 25th? Will that work for you? Perfect.
Thumbs
Thank
up.
you.
Okay.
okay, good. Okay. We have a date.
Yes.
Wonderful, thank you. Okay.
All right. So next up, if you can go back to the PowerPoint, Ashlyn, when you get a second. Next up will be the chair and vice chair election.
Right.
Um,
Can I just say it has been a pleasure to have served, I think, 2 years. I think I did 2 years. Working with staff, you all have been wonderful to work with, and I appreciate all the contributions that you make. And but I'm really happy to hand this off at this point. So I would ask the attorney. I have a recommendation. Can I turn the gavel over to my vice chair to make the recommendation? Or put name in the nomination and then ask for other nominations? Am I allowed to nominate?
I'm being hissed at from the podium. So did you have something you
I
wanted
was
to say
just
before I
gonna
answer
go,
that?
I was gonna go over the Robert Rules of Orders
Okay.
and the
Sure.
rules of the meeting, but if
But
if,
Pat,
so that way
you
they
are
understand.
always welcome to hand over your gavel if your vice chair will accept it. But let's let Daniel speak into how he would like to go forward, and then if you decide you'd like to hand over your gavel, you can still do that.
Yeah. So, all right. So Robert Rules of Order nomination by majority vote. So we'll do the chair first, and then we'll do vice chair next. Chair is not allowed to make a nomination, but a person can nominate themselves. Members should not offer more than one nomination for the same office. A nominated member may decline to accept the nomination, and either voice or roll call is acceptable. And then the newly elected chair, whoever that may be, will take possession of the office immediately, and they will run the remainder of the meeting.
So it says I can't make that.
When you hand over your gavel, you are no longer the chair. So if you hand over your gavel to your vice chair, then for the duration of the meeting, you are no longer chair. So you could still make a nomination if you would like to, or you can just wait and see what your other council members, or excuse me, your other committee members do.
Correct. So the ball's in your court now.
Oh, thank you. Okay. I will first call for other nominations. I have a person I think would be wonderful for it, but it's their nomination. Okay, I'm handing you my gavel, and I would put into nomination Reggie Santilli as chair. She's been here probably as long as I have been. I'm trying to think when you came. We're old folks. We're old folks. So Reggie has been around I don't want to say around the block, but she has certainly been a supporter of ECHO. And I know when we went to reauthorization that you helped with that a lot. So I want to put your name into nomination if you would accept it.
Thank you. I'll accept.
You accept it. Is there other names to go into the nomination?
Does that require a second? No.
Does that require a second? I thought nominations did not require seconds.
I'm just going to say this to Pat, though. If you're going to hand over your gavel, you got to stop running the meeting, though. You got to do one or the other.
Running the meeting.
She can't help it. She's been doing this so long.
Dust me off again. Yeah. Where were we? Do we need a second for that?
A second.
You need a second for a motion, not the nomination itself.
Yes.
Okay.
I move we
nomination.
I move we close nominations.
I'll second that.
I don't know what I'm allowed.
Right. So I'm sorry. To be clear, you can do this either way. So you can, with the nomination could be I nominate and there's a second, and then you can do that as the actual vote, or you can do what we just did and close nominations, and now there needs to be an additional motion, and that needs to be seconded, and then you can vote on it. Either way you want to do it. So in this case, you need a motion and a second now for it.
Yes, we did. Need a motion and a second.
We didn't have a vote on that other motion.
No, wait.
What do we need a
Motion to
motion?
close
The motion to close.
was not
We
voted
did
on.
that.
How about this? Who made the second on the motion to close? You want to withdraw that? Dwight, you want to withdraw your motion?
Withdraw my second.
There we
Motion
go.
to close.
Is there a second for the nomination? We'll do that way instead.
Yes, I'll second the nomination.
There we go. All right.
Second
Now,
nomination.
Jay, if you'd like to ask for a vote on that.
May we have a vote?
You want to do it by
Roll call.
voice?
Roll call. Let's do a voice roll call.
And I'm sorry, Robert, I couldn't put you on this. I couldn't talk about this with you before. So
Pat Northey,
yes.
Jay Pendergast,
Yes.
Jeffrey Alt,
Yes.
Pat Drago,
Yes.
John Macaluso,
Yes.
Stephanie Mason Teague,
Yes.
Pat Patterson,
He's giving a thumbs up.
Reggie Santilli,
Yes.
Dwight Selby.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
I don't think we need to change
Oh, yeah. Okay.
location right now. We don't have anything left to do.
Oh, we should. Congratulations.
Okay, do we have a nomination for vice chair?
Well, I will nominate Pat Drago.
I'd nominate Jeffrey Alt for vice chair.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor? Do we want to do a roll call vote?
Pat Northey,
Yes.
Jay Pendergast,
Yes.
Jeffrey Alt,
Yes.
Pat Drago,
Yes.
John Macaluso,
Yes.
Stephanie Mason Teague,
Yes.
Pat Patterson,
Giving a thumbs up.
Reggie Santilli,
Yes.
Dwight Selby.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, now we'll move on to staff comments.
All right, so we touched on the ECHO strategic plan already, and then the April 2nd meeting. So the other item that I wanted to bring to your attention was the Lake Helen CAC payment. So we do have a pending agreement with the city of Lake Helen to pay back their ECHO grant. So their first portion would be due June 12th. And then they would owe in January of 25 and January of 26 because we ended up splitting it into 3 payments for them. And then as far as your next meetings are concerned, Thursday, July 11th is an advisory meeting, and then October 10th would be the next advisory meeting after that for you guys. And that's all I have for staff comments.
Move on to advisory committee comments.
I have a question for Daniel. Can you give us an update on the African American Museum?
Yeah, so their last quarterly that they submitted to us, which we actually just got from them before the deadline, is their completion percentage of their project at design is 95%, and there's no construction is at 0.
Okay.
Do you want any more detail from their quarterly?
Have they mentioned anything about budget change or anything?
There has been nothing submitted for that, no.
Okay. Is there anything official that you could also tell us on the Ormond Beach Performing Arts Center, which had the big fire and is closed down? I know that came out of, I've spoken to Mark. I don't know if they submitted anything official to ECHO or.
No, I mean, they made us aware that obviously about the situation that day, but they have not gave us an update of when their next plan is to reopen.
Okay. That's unfortunate. I'm not sure how many people know. Facility just reopened in February. A fire broke out in one of the seats. One of the lights in the seats caught fire on a Saturday night. Sprinkler system did go off after the flames started and the smoke detected. There was only like 6 or 7 seats that were burned. However, the monitoring company failed to contact the fire department as well as the city, and the sprinkler system ran until Monday morning. Totally destroyed the carpet, ceilings, and a lot of it has had to be ripped out. So they are, I don't want to say indefinitely closed. They're expecting about 6 months to try and get everything fixed. Thankfully, you know, they have full insurance, and will get reopened as soon as they can. Hopefully September, October, or maybe by the end of the year.
And you know, what's really tragic about that is the fire station is directly across the street. I mean, it is literally directly across the street on the same corner.
Yeah.
Opposite corner, but on the same, on Wilmette and US 1.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
How unfortunate.
Big lawsuit in the works, I'm sure.
Well, it was great that their fire safety put out the fire, but whoever was monitoring it, there's an issue.
Okay, we're going to move on to advisory committee comments. We'll start with you, Jeff. You have anything else to say? Pat?
Thank you, Dwight, but.
No comments. Thank you for your service, Pat. Thank you. Jay?
No comment.
Stephanie?
I do. At our past meeting and review, I recommended to Stetson that they encourage more of the public to participate in events, and a flyer went out that encouraged participation to go to a rowing competition there at Lake Beresford. And I did go, and it was really fun. It was something I'd never seen before. And Jason, I believe, is their director, gave me a tour of the facility. And one of the spaces that I was also unaware of was a big patio that is on the top of their environmental building that they have out there, and it is able to be used by other community organizations, and something that I think that I wasn't aware of before. So it was a nice tour, and it was a nice event, and definitely a positive that came out of that conversation at our meeting.
Madam, I'm sorry. I just wanted to comment on it. I did go as well, and I was surprised to see this come that quickly. It was really interesting. I've never been to a rowing event before, and there was a pretty good crowd there. But the issue was you couldn't see what was going on in the water with the overgrown growth and everything there. So hopefully that plan will take that issue out of it.
I had spoken with a former rowing coach at Stetson a few years ago, and he told me DeLand is the best place in the nation for rowing teams because of our weather and because of the river and how you can go 27 miles in one direction, and we have so many no-wake zones. So it is good. And John, I wanted to address what you said earlier about ECHO working with Volusia Forever. We had a workshop a few years ago with the Volusia Forever committee, and it was explained to us by county staff that Volusia Forever can acquire the land, but they can't pay for the amenities, and that is something that we can do. And I believe that there are some grants in the process with
Yeah, that was brought up briefly in our Forever meeting. I do recall that, our last meeting. So I would expect some action.
Yeah,
one way or
I
the
think
other.
we're going to see it. Dwight?
I have no additional comments. Thank you. Other than to say, Pat, thank you for your service. And Jay, were you vice chair?
Yes, he was.
And he was chair before.
What a great job.
before me. Did a good job then.
We're both glad to retire.
Thank you for your service also.
On that note, we have a motion to adjourn.
We are adjourned.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.